From KCMO to the campus of Northern Iowa, where he began his college career with the Panthers, then on to the Power 5 level at Kansas State. All Big 12 selection at the tight end position. Welcome to Springball Boulevard. 2-year DC defender, tight end, Briley Moore. What's going on, Briley? Good to have you, man.
What's happening? I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Of course. And, man, I got to start. I still can't figure out how the hell did you catch that ball in Orlando last year from De'Aaron King? And was that the craziest catch of your career?
That just the whole play in general, watching it back, like after the game. I mean, yeah, first, that was probably the craziest catch in my career. Shout out to the XFL for having the one foot down rule. I didn't realize during the game how crazy De'Aaron's throw was until after the game, and I seen it on ESPN and stuff, and I mean, that was unreal the way he flipped his hips, run the opposite way, and then I mean, he really put it in the breadbasket. It wasn't a crazy catch for me because he made it so easy, but I'm glad I was able to get that foot down and get a cool one in.
And they're doing 2 this year, right? Got to get 2 down now. I think they changed the rule on us. They're not talking about that rule change as much as some of the others, but I think players are going to find out week 1 that they got to get 2 in.
Absolutely.
All right, Briley. Well, you're one of 28 guys that are back on this DC Defender squad. Most returning players in the league. It looks like a really strong core coming back. What was different about camp this year compared to last year when, openly some guys said there were fights and kind of some issues gelling at first?
Absolutely. So this year, having that core group, and I mean, shout out to Vaughn and Coach Barlow for being able to, bring back such a core group of guys and then add, awesome pieces to it to really gel it. But yeah, just having that core group of guys that have been here and know how things run in the DC organization, knowing how to control practice, that we go pretty hard. We practice hard, we practice physical. That's how we play too, so it works. But just kind of having that core group that really knows how things are done here. It's been a much smoother process. We're not fighting, throughout camp like we did last year. We're really pushing each other. Iron sharpens iron when it comes to offense versus defense, and we're just getting better and obviously, and also getting to know one another, which was big, early on, and things started clicking throughout camp towards the end like they were supposed to. So it's really good to be able to have those returning guys.
Yeah, and of course, it's a big year of changes in this transition from the XFL to the new UFL. Your position coach, Cody Krill, taking a job at Marshall, where he'll coach the offensive line. And listen, he was best tight end coach in the league, right? That tight end room was for real last season. What does that leadership look like without Cody in the tight end room now?
Yeah, so it's cool to be able to have myself and Skit, Alex Ellis back, as well as Trey Berry, our long snapper. So there's really only one new guy in Caden Smith. So we kind of, we're used to how Coach Krill ran things for us. And like you said, he was an unbelievable coach. He deserves to be at that level. So, we're able to bring a lot of the things that he implemented and the leadership that he had in, because we do have a core 3 or 4 guys that were here with him. So awesome for him. Super excited for him. He's a cool dude. He actually stopped by practice the other day. So it was good to see him for sure. But yeah, we majority same coaches and stuff like that. So his leadership's missed. But we're trying to hold up our end of the bargain to keep it there.
Yeah, that Fred Keiss coaching connection is kind of cool when you look back and you look at Coach Huff at Marshall, and he worked for Coach Keiss, and now Coach Krill was on that staff, and just a ton of assistants that, Coach Keiss been around for a while, and he's got to know a lot of guys and through the HBCU ranks. So that's cool to see that continuity. And I was ashamed to see some of the XFL assistants that weren't able to stay on, and, everything kind of getting cut down this year, but wishing Coach Krill the absolute best with the Thundering Herd there in West Virginia. Yep. You talk about Caden Smith. You talk about Caden Smith a little bit. Obviously, from a returning standpoint, you and Jordan both back. You talk about Alex Ellis as well. Brandon Smith, another guy I think about. But a lot of new faces in this past game. You mentioned Caden Smith, who started about a year and a half in the NFL. And then you got some shiny new receivers as well with Kiki Qt and Vincent Smith, who were both NFL guys for the last 3 or 4 years. How's that receiving core shaping up in camp without the Lucky Jacksons and the Chris Blair and even Ethan Wolf, a guy who had some success last year?
Absolutely. Obviously, from last year's receiver room to this year's receiver room, we lost two guys to the NFL, another starting guy to a coaching job in the NFL. So those are big shoes to fill. But I'm excited for Sunday, so everybody can see this receiving room that we have. I mean, these guys, they're the real deal. They've been showing out since we got here. You mentioned obviously Kiki, Chris Rowland's another guy that's been super consistent for us and making big plays. And we got quite a few good people in that room that I'm excited to see them have success, because I really do think they're going to. And we'll see how they fare up to last year. Obviously, we're not comparing ourselves to the past. It's a new year. It's a whole new league. But I think that receiving room is going to surprise some people, because I know there's a lot of question marks on the outside looking in with the guys that we lost.
Yeah, and if I know Von Hutchins, he's not here to rebuild. He's here to reload. Immediately started
Absolutely.
working when it came to replacing some of these guys, and got Jordan back, which is
Absolutely.
ultimately the key to the offense. Let's get into San Antonio a little bit. This is basically last year's Roughneck squad that you guys beat. From a scheme perspective, I know they do have a lot of returning guys from the Brahmas that you saw last year as well, but that Phillips 3-4 is basically what we're looking at here for that Brahmas
Hmm.
defense. What have you guys been kind of focusing on in your prep? And outside of Abram, which is obviously the heartbreaking news coming into camp, how's everyone holding up health wise?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's pretty good. I would say that our whole team's healthy. Everybody's running around pretty good. Guys that were banged up are getting back on the field. Obviously, it sucks, to lose to lose that guy wearing number 4. The best back in the league last year, and a lot of our offense ran through him. Even our passing game ran through what he could do. But I'm excited to be able to get out there. And whenever, talking about San Antonio, yeah, we're watching a lot of last year's film. Wade Phillips, a legendary coach. So we're watching a lot of things that they did last year with the Roughnecks. Expecting very similar things. I know they do have a new DC, um, so you never know what's really going to happen. But I, feel pretty good on, just different things that we're doing right now to implement into the game this year based off, what we've seen them do last year and 3 years past pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's really cool to see 3 returning starters on that offensive line as well to complement you and Alex coming back in the tight end room. I think that was one of the most overlooked position groups as far as guys that didn't get enough credit paving the way for that elite run game. I wanted to ask about
100%.
you guys. So you guys scrimmaged Michigan, right, from the USFL side. I kind of want your opinion on something so far, and I've been asking a couple of players this that I've had the chance to talk to about some of the all USFL guys that are getting cut around the league on different teams. It's kind of a
Hmm.
two different schools of thought that I have. In your opinion, for those guys that are getting cut, is it because their teams didn't make the merge? They had to get redrafted, come back into a new system, and immediately play catch up for 3 weeks of training camp? Or have you noticed a talent gap between the XFL side and the USFL side?
Yeah, I mean, obviously both sides were talented, so I won't say that it was the talent gap. I do think that I'm excited to see how each conference this year matches up, though. That'll be something interesting to watch throughout the season. Really, I think it's whenever you cut 4 teams from their division, really kind of 5 with um, the way some of it happened, and then guys are having to play catch up, and then like we have a lot of returner guys. So if somebody were to come over to our team, and they're playing catch up on a Greg Williams defense who I've played against them all last year, and I still don't know what to expect whenever we're out there. So it makes it hard, and I do think that's it. So I'm excited to see if there's expansion in the future. Obviously, I've seen on Twitter that there is, because there's a lot of guys. Looking at the guys that got cut, there's a lot of guys that deserve to be playing football and being able to showcase what they got. So definitely excited for that. Definitely hope that happens. But it does suck, guys missing out on opportunities and stuff like that. But it is interesting whenever you look. I could be wrong on this. I was just looking at Twitter. It was something like 15 all USFL guys got cut. That's crazy to think about compared to only one XFL. So hopefully wish those guys the best. Hopefully they can get on the squad whenever there's expansion or throughout the season, because obviously injuries are a big thing.
Yeah, and there's guys on both sides of that. I do kind of feel for the guys who had their teams cut, because it is really tough to make a roster then. But you look at a success story, a guy like Chris Rowland. Comes from the Stars, doesn't have a home. All of a sudden, he's a DC defender, makes the 50-man roster. So there's certainly guys, even on the XFL side. You think about a Deontay Anderson on the defense now, guy out of Vegas, earns a starting spot at safety over a couple of guys who started last year for you guys. So it's definitely possible if you have a good camp. And, injuries will ultimately happen, and a lot of these guys are going to be on waivers and ready to suit up week 2 and beyond. So that's that. I had to ask you, Briley, before we go here, and I really appreciate your time coming on the show. Some trivia here to end it. Which UFL team has never lost a home game in franchise history?
Franchise history?
You know this one, man. Don't overthink
DC.
it. DC, baby. Let's go. See, I just want to remind everybody of that. Coming into this season, DC has not lost back to the 2020 XFL when you were in Manhattan balling out for Kansas State. DC was winning games in front of that crowd.
Yep.
That crowd is going to be fired up, man. Week 2. Sold out last couple games of the season last year, and coming in with some real momentum and some unfinished business. That is Briley Moore, tight end for the DC Defenders. Thank you for joining us today, Briley. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate your time.